Star Wars Visions Season 2. Something that everyone seems to like, except for me. This might be a controversial video, especially my opinions here, because this is going to be Hot Take City. But I'm just gonna speak my mind. Truthfully, I've actually been really enjoying the Star Wars content that's been coming out lately. Andor, Mando Season 3 I actually liked, even though some people disliked. And I'm really hyped for Ahsoka to come out. But Star Wars Visions Season 2 just came out for May the 4th, and I have to say, I just am not finding myself enjoying it. I've watched like 4 full episodes, and I've been kind of skipping around just because it's not a direct linear thing. It's sort of like an anthology type deal. You don't have to watch it all the way through. And so I've been trying to just watch the ones that are most interesting to me. And this series, if you didn't know, is animated in multiple different styles. Each each episode is an entirely new story. And it's all based in the Star Wars universe. But all of that combined just has me not liking the show very much. I like the show Love, Death, and Robots, which is pretty much the exact same concept over on Netflix. It's a sci-fi show where it's all animated, and every single episode is an entirely new animation style with new characters, new story, etc., etc. And I actually really like Love, Death, and Robots. I find it very intriguing. I, for the most part, like all of the animation styles that they do, but I do find myself skipping them if I really can't stand the sight of it. There's just some animation styles I know some people find beautiful, but I find to be like a headache to watch. One of those being the first episode of Vision Season 2 with the painting. Spoilers, by the way. It's like a painting Jedi Sith combo thing. Star Wars loves doing that now. But yeah, that art style, it just gives me a headache to watch. I don't know. I really don't love it. And, so those ones I'm not enjoying very much. The art styles I don't like in Star Wars Visions, I've been skipping over. The one art style I really loved in Star Wars Visions was sort of the claymation one. I Am Your Mother was the name of the episode. It just gets that stupid Meghan Trainor song stuck in my head, but whatever. So yeah, either way, basically the culmination of that rant is that I don't always like the art style of each and every episode. And that's okay. Not every art style is for every person. It's the same reason why some people really love like the Spider-Verse art style with Miles Morales, and some people hate it. Meanwhile, other people really love the Avatar art style, and some people hate it. It's totally normal, and it's okay to not like an individual episode based on the art style. But it's not just the art style of some of the episodes I don't like, it's also the storylines of a lot of the episodes. I just find them really bland and boring. It feels like, they were restricted to a 20-minute episode to tell an entire story arc, and they sort of fail to captivate you. I find a lot of them, the first half of it, I am so bored while they just explain things and get exposition out, through their art style and stuff like that. Like, it's obviously beautifully done, but I'm just like, okay, yeah, we could get into the action a little bit faster here, I think. I understand they're trying to do a full storytelling arc, but, traditional storytelling doesn't always work with such a short amount of time given to you. I think if this was, a multi-episode series type deal, you could spend the first episode having it be a little bit more toned down, a little bit more boring. But when you've only got 20 minutes, every minute counts, and I find myself bored during these episodes. And oftentimes it's really just the animators showing off their animation skills, which is cool for them, I get that, but from an entertainment perspective, I just don't find it that interesting. On top of that, I think I'm just not the target audience. I think I thought I might be part of the target audience because pretty much everyone on Twitter raves about this show, and these are 40-year-old adults and stuff like that, and I think okay, yeah, maybe this isn't like a kid's show. Maybe this is something I could really get behind and watch and find to be really, really interesting. But when I tune it in and I watch it, I just find myself feeling like, this is a little young for me, and there's no shame for kids who like watching this and stuff like that. I think it's awesome. I loved kid shows growing up. You're a kid, of course you do. But just watching it now, I feel like, okay, yeah, I just feel like I'm not the target audience for this. I can't, approach these topics with a straight face, and sometimes the jokes are a little stupid, and I'm like, okay, all right, let's wrap it up. So yeah, maybe that's just me thinking that this show would be a little bit more adulty, or at least a middle ground in there, sort of like The Mandalorian, or even the Clone Wars or parts of Rebels and stuff like that, where it's a middle ground where even adults can really enjoy the show. And I think I thought that because of everyone on Twitter raving about it and saying it's the greatest thing they've ever seen in Star Wars ever. And then I watch it myself and I'm like, I just don't get it. This is kind of boring to me, most parts. There are some interesting parts, and I'm like, oh, that was cool, but it's not really worth watching the full 20-minute episode for. It's not like Love, Death, and Robots, where I feel like it's really made for adults, and it's adult humor, it's adult topics. It's sort of like Black Mirror, but animated, and I think that's very interesting. And I think Star Wars Visions could be that interesting as well for adults too, if they sort of went that Black Mirror route. That's what I thought the show was going in, honestly, because I've heard it compared to Love, Death, and Robots. And I feel like that would actually be really cool to see in Star Wars, is sort of like a Black Mirror style show. This obviously isn't that, and I think that the target audience that this is for probably really loves this show. And most of my complaining is just purely based on the fact that I think I was like baited into watching this by Twitter, and then upon watching it, I just find myself kind of disappointed and not really enjoying it. My expectations were far too high for this, and then actually checking it out and watching each episode, I'm like, wow, this is not what I wanted from this. The other thing is, like, a lot of this feels very removed from the Star Wars universe entirely. And that's where it gets a little bit hard. If you don't have a Jedi in an episode, if you don't have droids in an episode, if you don't have lightsabers or the Empire or clones or, whatever Star Wars related things in an episode, it just turns into kind of a random sci-fi thing. Like, if you don't have those elements in each and every episode, it's like, okay, this could be any universe. This doesn't have to be Star Wars. This maybe even isn't Star Wars. And I think that is a trap that this show falls into sometimes, because it's like, this could just be any show. I don't particularly care about it. And, it comes from different eras of Star Wars, and we're not supposed to know everything about each era of this. And that's sort of the idea of it, is it's small visions of it, small little ideas of what's going on in the universe at certain times and things like that. And we're not supposed to have all that detail, and I think that's part of the show. But at the same time, to me, it's like, well, I really like watching Star Wars because it's Star Wars, and I get to recognize things and get a little bit of a nostalgia burger going on, and at the same time, like, expand the universe a little bit more. And when there's some random Jedi in 5,892 BBY who will never show up again in another Star Wars property, I'm kind of like, do I really care about this? And that's a problem with a lot of Star Wars stuff, is if it's not connected to the Skywalker saga, people just don't really care. Like, that's kind of a problem in and of itself. But yeah, either way, Star Wars Visions, I think maybe I'm just not the target audience, and this could be a very controversial video. I acknowledge that. This show just might not be for me. And that's okay. And you guys might love it, and if you love it, good on you. I'm glad that you have something you love. But for me, it's just not it. Thanks for watching. Bye. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Be sure to click that subscribe button for more content, and hit the notification bell if you'd like to be alerted to whenever I live stream or upload. Thanks so much.